They say silence is powerful, but when it comes to Sigma males, silence isn't just powerful, it's a weapon. Most men get emotionally wrecked when dealing with manipulative women. They argue, beg, react, and fall right into the trap. But Sigma males, they operate on a whole different wavelength. They don't need loud confrontations or dramatic showdowns. Instead, they dismantle manipulation quietly, like a chess grandmaster who saw the checkmate coming 10 moves ago. And the most fascinating part? Most people never even realize how a Sigma male flipped the script until it's far too late. Before we dive into the subtle art of how Sigmas outsmart manipulative women without saying a word, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's set the stage. Sigma males aren't emotionally unavailable. They're emotionally selective. They're not aloof, they're observant. That's their first advantage. While others are distracted by beauty, charm, or attention, a Sigma male is studying patterns. He sees through the rehearsed smile. He picks up on the micro behaviors, the pause before a compliment, the slightly delayed text reply, the inconsistencies in the story. While the average guy is already under the spell, the Sigma male is mentally 3 steps behind the curtain, watching the performance with folded arms. You see, manipulative women rely on 2 things: confusion and control. They create fog, emotional chaos, so you stop thinking clearly and start reacting impulsively. They'll use guilt trips, mixed signals, jealousy tactics, or even sudden affection to test your boundaries. But here's where the Sigma male shines. He doesn't play emotional ping pong. When confronted with games, he goes silent. Not in a passive way, but in a way that says, "I'm not participating in this circus." That silence is devastating. It removes the fuel. Manipulative women feed off emotional reactions, anger, sadness, jealousy. But when you respond with calm stillness, the manipulation short circuits. What most people don't realize is that silence is never just silence when a Sigma male uses it. It's a mirror. When he doesn't react, she begins to reflect. She's forced to confront her own behavior without a distraction. And that's terrifying. The manipulator begins to question, why isn't this working? Why isn't he chasing me? Why isn't he upset? It's psychological warfare, and the Sigma male doesn't even have to lift a finger. But the genius doesn't stop there. Sigmas create an emotional ecosystem where manipulation cannot survive. They set standards instead of boundaries. See, boundaries are reactive. You draw a line when someone crosses it, but standards are proactive. You measure from day. Why Sigma males rarely attract manipulators for long. If a manipulative woman enters his space, she quickly realizes she has no tools to control him. There's no guilt to exploit, no desperation to play with, no insecurity to feed. It's like trying to light a fire underwater. Another psychological move Sigma males use is the art of disappearing, strategic withdrawal. They don't confront manipulation head-on because they know it leads to arguments and drama. Instead, they detach, quietly, elegantly, sometimes for a few hours, sometimes forever. This leaves the manipulator in a state of confusion, unable to recalibrate. She expected a reaction, a fight, a discussion, something to reassert control. But instead, he vanishes into silence. And that silence speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. It says, "You're not in control here." What's even more frustrating for a manipulative woman is that the Sigma male doesn't advertise his awareness. He doesn't say, "I know what you're doing." He just acts accordingly. That subtle shift in energy, that quiet withdrawal, that unbothered expression, it sends a message without speaking a word. It's unnerving. It makes her question her power. And once she starts questioning her power, she starts losing it. The Sigma's independence is also a lethal advantage. He doesn't need anyone to complete him, and that makes him immune to emotional blackmail. Manipulative women often use threats of withdrawal, emotional punishment, or playing victim to trap men who fear being alone. But a Sigma male thrives in solitude. So when a manipulative woman threatens to leave, he shrugs. When she withholds affection, he doesn't chase. When she creates distance, he uses it to reflect. This lack of dependence is like spiritual armor. It makes him untouchable. And let's not forget the Sigma's ability to observe without judgment. While others get emotional and reactive, the Sigma watches with clinical calmness. He's not trying to fix the manipulator or save the relationship. He's gathering data, he's connecting dots. And once the pattern becomes clear, he acts decisively, not emotionally. He doesn't explode. He exits, quietly, with no explanation. And that's where his power peaks. Because the manipulator doesn't get the satisfaction of a dramatic finale, just the echo of her own games backfiring. You might be wondering, do Sigma males ever confront manipulators directly? Rarely, because they know that confrontation often gives manipulators the stage they crave. Instead, they apply what's called psychological inversion. They let the manipulator feel the weight of her own tactics. For example, if she uses the silent treatment, he mirrors it, but with detachment, not emotion. If she uses guilt, he responds with neutrality. Eventually, the manipulator either changes her behavior or walks away. Either way, the Sigma male wins, without ever raising his voice. This mental calm isn't an accident. It's the result of extreme self-awareness. Sigma males know their emotional triggers, and they disarm them before anyone else can. They practice internal discipline. They build a life so rich in meaning, whether through purpose, hobbies, goals, or solitude, that manipulation becomes irrelevant. They don't rely on relationships to feel validated, so they're never caught in emotional debt. Now let's talk about timing. Manipulators often thrive in rapid intimacy. They want to get close fast, blur boundaries, and establish control before you notice the red flags. But Sigma males move slowly. They observe. They let people reveal themselves over time. That slowness is like a vaccine. It gives them space to identify patterns and avoid infections. They never rush into someone's narrative. They write their own. And when a Sigma does decide to leave a manipulative relationship, he doesn't look back. There's no second guessing, no rekindling, no, maybe she'll change. Because the Sigma male doesn't operate on potential. He operates on reality. Once he sees the game, it's over. Quietly. Completely. That's what makes it so brutal for the manipulator. She doesn't get closure. She gets absence. She gets to sit with her own reflection in the silence he leaves behind. What makes this all the more impressive is that Sigma males don't do it out of spite. They're not out to punish anyone. They just refuse to be emotionally hijacked. Their silence isn't revenge, it's clarity. They know that arguing with a manipulator is like wrestling with a shadow. The more you fight, the more you lose shape. So instead, they step into the light and let the shadow fade. And here's the part most people never see coming. Manipulative women often end up respecting Sigma males the most, not because they succeeded in controlling them, but because they couldn't. There's something irresistibly intimidating about a man who cannot be played, who doesn't flinch when buttons are pushed, who sees the game and chooses not to engage. That quiet strength, that controlled detachment, it's magnetic. Not just to manipulators, but to anyone who values emotional intelligence. In a world full of noise, the Sigma male's silence is rare. And in relationships full of power struggles, his refusal to engage becomes revolutionary. He doesn't scream, "You can't control me." He simply lives in a way that makes control impossible. That's how he outsmarts manipulative women, without saying a word. Because at the end of the day, the most powerful move isn't reacting. It's not even responding. It's choosing not to play the game in the first place. Sigma males figured that out a long time ago. And that's why they're always 5 steps ahead, calm, quiet, and completely untouchable.